If you're over 60, I need you to hear this. Did you know the bread sitting in your kitchen right now could be silently damaging your heart? It's something many seniors don't realize, but it happens every day. In this video, I'll reveal the hidden dangers in some of your favorite breads and show you what to eat instead to protect your heart after 60. You don't want to miss this. Let's dive in.
Mass-produced packaged bread, the convenient loaf that's slowly strangling your heart. If you walk down any grocery store aisle in America, you'll see shelves lined with perfectly uniform loaves of bread, soft, spongy, wrapped in plastic and stamped with promises like heart-healthy whole grain or low-fat. For many seniors living on a fixed income or with limited mobility, this type of bread seems like the smart choice. It's affordable, accessible, and lasts for weeks without going stale. But what most people don't realize is that this convenience comes at a hidden cost. Mass-produced packaged bread isn't just flour, water, and yeast anymore. Behind that innocent slice lies a cocktail of preservatives, emulsifiers, stabilizers, and worst of all, sodium and added sugars. These aren't added for your health. They're there to make the bread fluffier, last longer, and sell faster. For seniors over 60, every single one of these ingredients can be deadly over time. One of the worst offenders is sodium. Most commercial breads, yes, even the ones labeled as whole grain, contain 150 to 300 milligrams of sodium per slice. This means a basic sandwich could easily deliver 600 milligrams of sodium or more, and that's before you add in deli meats, condiments, or cheese. If you are already dealing with stiffening arteries or slower kidney function, that sodium causes the body to retain fluid, increasing blood volume and raising blood pressure. Over time, the heart has to work harder, the arteries become less flexible, and the stage is set for chronic hypertension and heart failure.
Let me tell you about Mrs. Lorraine Banks, a 77-year-old widow from Illinois. She came to my clinic with constant fatigue and swelling in her lower legs. Despite being on 3 medications for her blood pressure, it was still elevated. She told me she was eating simple foods, mostly soups, toast, and sandwiches. No chips, no fast food. She thought she was doing everything right. But when we asked her to bring in a food journal, we noticed a troubling pattern. Lorraine was eating the same packaged wheat bread 3 times a day. 1 slice at breakfast, 2 for lunch, and sometimes another at dinner. I pulled the label. It had 230 milligrams of sodium per slice. Multiply that by 4 and add in the sodium from her soups and cheese, and she was unknowingly consuming over 2,000 milligrams of sodium daily, well over the safe limit for seniors. Her heart was silently drowning in salt. We made simple changes. We switched her to a no-salt added sprouted grain bread, taught her how to read nutrition labels, and replaced canned soup with homemade options. Within a month, her blood pressure dropped, the swelling eased, and her energy returned. Lorraine looked at me and said, "I never thought bread could hurt me, doctor, but it was the quietest poison I've ever known."
Sweetbreads and brioche, the buttery bites that are quietly clogging your arteries. There's something almost sacred about sweetbreads, the warm scent of cinnamon, the golden crust glistening with butter, and the soft interior melting on your tongue. It brings back memories of Sunday breakfasts, holiday gatherings, or afternoons at the diner with a cup of coffee. For many older Americans, sweetbreads like brioche, Hawaiian rolls, or cinnamon bread carry with them memories of comfort, family, and tradition. But here's the harsh truth. Every sweet, fluffy bite may be silently loading your bloodstream with fats and sugars that directly attack your heart. These breads are not innocent treats. They're nutritional traps, especially dangerous after age 60, When your metabolism slows, your arteries stiffen, and your heart becomes more vulnerable to hidden inflammation and fat buildup. What makes these breads so harmful? It starts with the ingredients. Sweetbreads are made with refined white flour, added sugars, and large amounts of saturated fat, usually from butter, cream, or whole milk. This combination doesn't just raise your blood sugar, it creates a dangerous chemical cocktail in your bloodstream that promotes insulin resistance, spikes LDL cholesterol, and triggers chronic, low-grade inflammation in your blood vessels. Over time, these factors converge into a perfect storm for atherosclerosis, or hardening and narrowing of the arteries. For seniors, this process moves faster than you think. The arteries that once stretched and contracted easily now become stiffer, making it harder for blood to flow freely. The more this continues, the more plaque builds up, and eventually you face an increased risk of heart disease, stroke, and heart attacks.
Here's the painful truth. After 60, your body can't process sugar and saturated fat the way it once did. Sweetbreads flood your system with both. They taste gentle, but they act aggressively. They create a surge in insulin, a spike in triglycerides, and a cascade of inflammatory responses that make your heart stiffer, heavier, and weaker over time. The damage is slow but deadly, and worst of all, you don't feel it happening until it's too late. So the next time you're offered a slice of buttery brioche or a sweet roll with your coffee, remember this: that softness may come at the cost of your next breath.
Garlic bread, the golden crust that's silencing your heart medications. Garlic bread. The warm, savory scent of garlic butter wafting through the kitchen, golden slices crisped just enough on the edges, soft in the middle. For many seniors, garlic bread isn't just a side dish. It's a small joy tied to memories of family dinners, pasta nights, and comfort on hard days. But here's the truth. That very bread you think is adding flavor to your life could actually be canceling out your heart medications, silently, steadily, and without a single warning sign. And that's not just because of the salt or calories. Garlic bread poses a triple threat to aging hearts: high sodium content, saturated fats, and perhaps most dangerously, its interference with blood-thinning medications. Let me explain. Garlic, especially in concentrated or raw form, is a natural blood thinner. It contains a compound called allicin, which can interfere with platelet aggregation, making your blood less likely to clot. While this might sound helpful for heart health in theory, it becomes a dangerous cocktail when combined with prescription anticoagulants like warfarin, Eliquis, Xarelto, or even daily aspirin. What happens? Your blood may become too thin, which increases your risk of internal bleeding, brain hemorrhage, or sudden blood pressure crashes.
But garlic bread isn't just garlic. It's garlic mixed with butter or margarine, often loaded with saturated fats and hydrogenated oils which raise LDL cholesterol and damage the arterial lining. Then add in the refined white bread base, which spikes blood sugar and adds nothing of nutritional value. And finally, the salt, sometimes 300 to 500 milligrams of sodium per slice. This combination doesn't just damage the heart, it silently wears down the very medications you're taking to keep your heart alive. Let me share the story of Mrs. Joan Ellis, a 79-year-old widow from Michigan. She came to my office feeling dizzy, tired, and had unexplained bruises on her arms and legs.
When she collapsed while gardening, her daughter rushed her to the ER. Her INR level, the test that measures blood thinning, was dangerously elevated. She hadn't changed her medications, but when I asked about her diet, she told me she'd been baking garlic bread several times a week. Fresh garlic, melted butter, her favorite treat. She thought she was helping her heart, but what she didn't know was that her regular garlic intake, combined with her blood thinner, had quietly pushed her into a high-risk bleeding state. We made immediate changes, scaled back on the garlic, removed butter, lowered sodium, and rebuilt her meals with heart-friendly ingredients. Thankfully, she recovered, but she said something that still resonates with me. I didn't feel sick. I felt normal. I thought I was doing something good for myself.
That's the scary part. You can feel fine while your medications are being muted. Your heart, liver, and blood vessels are working overtime to process something your body can no longer handle the way it once did. After 60, the margin for error narrows. What your heart tolerated in your 40s, it may not survive in your 70s. So yes, garlic has its benefits, but not when it's mixed with saturated fat, refined flour, and layered on top of the very medications that are protecting your life. Garlic bread is just one example of a flavorful favorite that seems innocent but behaves like poison when paired with aging biology and heart medications. But there's more. What about those breads marketed as healthy, light, or diabetic-friendly? These might seem like the safe option, but they could be wreaking havoc on your digestion, blood pressure, and even your memory. Let's talk about that next. Bread with artificial sweeteners, the guilt-free slice that's quietly disrupting your body and mind. Next, let's talk about a type of bread that's marketed as guilt-free, the diabetic-friendly bread or low-carb bread that promises all the taste with none of the guilt. You've seen it on grocery store shelves, labeled with phrases like low-carb, zero sugar, or even sugar-free. It feels like the obvious choice if you're trying to eat responsibly or manage your blood sugar. You might think you're doing your heart and your blood sugar a favor. But what if I told you that these sweet-tasting breads, often filled with artificial sweeteners like sucralose, sorbitol, and aspartame, are quietly upsetting your gut, stressing your heart, and even affecting your brain? Let's break it down. Artificial sweeteners may not spike your blood sugar directly, but they do confuse your body's natural regulatory systems. These chemicals trick your brain into thinking sugar is coming, prompting a surge in insulin, even though no real glucose enters your bloodstream. Over time, this disrupts insulin sensitivity, increases cravings, and ironically, makes it harder to control your blood sugar. For seniors already dealing with type 2 diabetes or prediabetes, this creates a metabolic storm that places even more pressure on the heart. The heart is forced to work harder, and the risk of complications like cardiovascular disease increases. But that's not all. Many of these sweeteners, especially sorbitol and xylitol, are poorly absorbed in the small intestine. They end up fermenting in the colon, causing bloating, gas, and diarrhea. Now, you might think this is just an inconvenience, but for seniors, digestive issues are more than just a nuisance. They can be dangerous. With aging, digestion naturally slows down, and the gut becomes more sensitive. Mild dehydration from chronic diarrhea can trigger electrolyte imbalances, dizziness, and even cardiac arrhythmias. What many seniors don't realize is that the FDA allows manufacturers to use language like sugar-free or low-carb without fully explaining the metabolic consequences of these sweeteners.
They don't warn you about the gut-brain connection or the link between artificial sweeteners and cognitive decline in older adults. Emerging research shows that long-term use of these compounds may increase the risk of memory impairment, anxiety, and even mood disorders, conditions that already challenge so many aging Americans. And let's not forget, these breads often lack fiber, lack nutrients, and are made from highly processed flours to simulate the texture of real bread. So while they claim to be a better option, they offer nothing your heart truly needs and may, in fact, work against everything your medications and body are trying to accomplish.
So, the next time you reach for that guilt-free slice, ask yourself, is it really worth the label? If that slice is making your heart race, your stomach churn, and your brain foggy, is it truly the better choice for your health? Because here's the reality, not everything labeled healthy is safe for your heart. And the worst part is, what's hiding inside those slices? Artificial sweeteners might not be something you can taste, but its impact on your health is real.
Bread with emulsifiers and softeners. The fresh loaf that's quietly harming your heart and gut. Now let's talk about something most people don't even think twice about when it comes to bread: emulsifiers and softeners. Have you ever noticed how perfectly soft and springy store-bought bread is, even a week after purchase? It bounces back when you squeeze the bag, fresh as ever. That's no accident. It's the result of chemicals like emulsifiers, stabilizers, and softening agents. These chemicals are added to bread to keep it soft longer, prevent mold, and improve texture. But what most seniors don't realize is that many of these additives, like diacetyl tartaric acid esters of mono and diglycerides, monoglycerides, and calcium propionate, are actually harmful to our bodies over time. For seniors, especially those with slower metabolism and more fragile immune systems, these additives are silent agitators. While they might make bread softer and last longer, they disrupt the delicate balance of your digestive system and bloodstream. Studies have shown that many of these chemicals, especially diacetyl, can interfere with cholesterol metabolism, promote inflammation in blood vessels, and even contribute to atherosclerosis, the hardening and narrowing of the arteries. Every slice of ultra-soft bread could be nudging you one step closer to heart disease. But that's not all. These same additives have been shown to disrupt gut bacteria, which plays a critical role in immune function, digestion, and even mood regulation. For seniors over 60, whose gut lining is more fragile and immune response is slower, this disruption can be disastrous. Emulsifiers can create low-grade inflammation in the gut, making it harder to absorb nutrients, irritating the bowel, and even leading to symptoms like bloating, fatigue, joint pain, and brain fog. This inflammation doesn't stay in the gut. It travels through the bloodstream, feeding systemic inflammation, which directly damages your heart. For an aging body, it's like setting off a chain reaction that can lead to plaque buildup in the arteries and an increased risk of heart disease. Let me tell you about Mrs. Carol Whitman, a 76-year-old retired librarian from New Hampshire. Carol was diligent. She exercised, kept her blood pressure under control, and avoided sweets. But she came to me feeling constantly tired, bloated, and unable to concentrate. Her cholesterol was slowly creeping up, even though her diet seemed clean. I asked her to bring in her food labels, and that's when we found the issue. Carol had been eating 2 slices every morning of a soft, whole wheat bread that proudly claimed to be healthy. It was packed with diacetyl, monoglycerides, and calcium propionate. We switched her to a simple, organic, additive-free whole grain loaf. Nothing fancy, no stretchable softness, just real food. Within a few weeks, her bloating eased, her energy improved, and her LDL cholesterol had dropped by 18 points. Carol looked at me and said, "I thought bread was bread, Doc. I didn't realize the softness was coming at such a cost." So, the next time you reach for a loaf of bread, check the label. If you see diacetyl, mono and diglycerides or propionate, remember, your heart deserves better. Your gut deserves better. You deserve better. But if that chemical-laced bread isn't alarming enough, what about the hidden danger that comes with pairing it with something many seniors think is a healthier option? We'll talk about that next. Stay with me. You won't want to miss this.
White sandwich bread with processed meats. The salty combo that's silently stiffening your arteries. It's a classic lunch for millions of older Americans. A soft, white sandwich bun, a few slices of turkey or ham, maybe a piece of cheese and a pickle on the side. It feels light, simple, even heart-smart compared to a greasy burger or fried chicken. But this everyday meal, something you might eat without a second thought, is quietly putting enormous pressure on your heart, especially if you're over 60. Here's the truth. Most seniors don't hear. White bread paired with processed deli meats creates one of the most dangerous combinations for an aging cardiovascular system. Why? Because it's not just one problem. It's multiple threats colliding in one seemingly innocent sandwich. Let's start with the bread. As we discussed earlier, white bread is made from refined flour that offers little to no fiber and quickly spikes your blood sugar. After 60, when your glucose metabolism naturally slows down, these spikes become more than temporary. They fuel insulin resistance, weight gain around the abdomen, and long-term vascular inflammation. That alone would be enough to warrant concern. But then we add in the meat. Processed meats like deli turkey, ham, salami, and even low-fat chicken slices are loaded with sodium, nitrates, and preservatives. A typical serving of deli meat contains between 500 to 1,200 milligrams of sodium. That's up to 80% of your entire recommended daily intake in one meal. And that doesn't even include the sodium already in the bread, cheese, or condiments. When sodium levels stay elevated, your body retains fluid to try and dilute it. That extra fluid increases blood volume, causing your heart to pump harder and your blood pressure to rise. Over time, this leads to arterial thickening, left ventricular hypertrophy, an enlarged heart, and eventually congestive heart failure. Let me tell you about Mr. Leonard Price, a 74-year-old retired Navy veteran from Virginia. Leonard was the picture of discipline. He walked every morning, took his medications on time, and stayed away from sweets. But his blood pressure was always borderline high, and he often felt lightheaded after standing up too quickly. We couldn't figure it out until I asked him about his lunch. He proudly told me he ate the same thing every day, a turkey sandwich with some mustard on white bread. It sounded harmless, but once we added it up, that meal alone was giving him over 1,500 milligrams of sodium and nearly no fiber or potassium to help balance it. He was flooding his system with salt while offering his arteries no protection. We replaced his white bread with a low-sodium whole-grain option, swapped out deli meat for home-cooked shredded chicken, and added leafy greens and avocado for potassium. In 4 weeks, his blood pressure dropped by 15 points. His dizzy spells stopped, and he said, "I thought I was eating smart. I didn't know my sandwich was hurting me." And Leonard is not alone. So many older adults are doing their best with what they know,
But the food industry doesn't make it easy. They disguise danger in everyday meals. A simple sandwich becomes a blood salt bomb, a blood sugar spike, and a cholesterol-laden lunch all rolled into one. If you're over 60, your heart doesn't need fancy diets. It needs honest food with honest ingredients, free from hidden threats. And just when you think you've avoided the worst, what if I told you some breads marketed as whole grain or healthy are actually sitting in your freezer right now, filled with preservatives meant to survive months, not nourish your heart? What's frozen isn't always safe. Let's talk about that next.
Frozen pre-made bread. The convenient loaf that's slowly poisoning your heart from the inside. Let's talk about frozen pre-made breads. Those conveniently tucked away in your freezer, ready to go at a moment's notice. You just pop them in the oven or toaster, and within minutes, you have fresh, warm bread on your plate. No mess, no fuss. For many seniors, frozen bread seems like a smart, time-saving choice. After all, you're not eating fast food, you're eating bread, right? But what if I told you that these convenient loaves may be one of the most chemically loaded, heart-harming foods in your entire kitchen? When bread is engineered to survive months in a freezer, thaw quickly, and still taste fresh, it's no longer just bread. It's food science made to simulate bread, but with long-term effects that your aging heart cannot afford. These breads are often ultra-processed, packed with chemical stabilizers, emulsifiers, anti-caking agents, preservatives, and sometimes industrial seed oils, ingredients that have no business in your bloodstream. One of the most concerning ingredients found in many frozen breads is calcium propionate, a mold inhibitor. While it keeps the bread from spoiling, studies suggest that calcium propionate may also cause gut inflammation, headaches, and contribute to metabolic disruption, especially when consumed regularly over time. For someone in their 30s, the liver and kidneys might handle it. But after 60, your detox pathways slow down, your immune response weakens, and your gut lining becomes more fragile, allowing these chemical residues to enter the bloodstream and promote systemic inflammation. That inflammation doesn't stay in the gut. It travels through your blood vessels, making them less elastic, more reactive, and more prone to plaque buildup. Combine that with high sodium content, which frozen breads often have in abundance, and you've created a situation where your heart is fighting two battles: the pressure of excess fluid and the silent attack of inflammation from within. Let me introduce you to Mrs. Eileen Conway, a 78-year-old retired school principal from Oregon. She came to my office with complaints of extreme fatigue and a strange, persistent heaviness in her chest. Not sharp pain, just pressure. Her EKG showed mild changes, but nothing conclusive. Her blood pressure was slightly elevated, and she had no major cholesterol issues at first. Her case puzzled me until I asked about her meals. Eileen lived alone and prided herself on being independent. She kept her freezer stocked with frozen dinners and pre-made items, including a brand of multigrain frozen bread she had with nearly every meal. She thought it was healthy. We dug into the label. That bread, while labeled as multigrain, was packed with preservatives, artificial dough conditioners, and over 400 milligrams of sodium per slice. No fiber, no whole grains, just fillers and chemicals cleverly disguised as health food. We removed it from her diet and replaced it with simple, fresh whole-grain bread from a local bakery, and within 8 weeks, her blood pressure normalized, the chest heaviness disappeared, and her energy came back. She told me, "I thought I was saving time,
but I was stealing strength from my heart without even knowing it. Eileen's story is a common one. Seniors doing their best, trying to make healthy choices, but being misled by packaging and convenience. Frozen bread isn't just cold bread. It's a manufactured product built for shelf life, not heart life. And when you're older 60, the stakes are higher. Your arteries are more sensitive, your metabolism is slower, and your ability to filter toxins is reduced. What might be a minor stressor for someone younger can become a ticking bomb for you. So the next time you reach into your freezer for that ready-to-bake loaf, ask yourself, is it nourishing me or just tricking me with texture and timing? What's hidden in the ingredients list is often more powerful than what you see on the label. If that chemical-laced bread isn't alarming enough, what about a hidden mistake many seniors make even when they think they're eating the right kind of bread? What if I told you that overdoing the heart-healthy bread you believe is good for you might actually be causing more harm than you realize? Let's talk about that next.
Overdoing heart-healthy bread when too much of a good thing quietly overwhelms your aging body. We've been told for years that whole grain bread is good for us, and for the most part, that's true. Whole grains provide fiber, B vitamins, magnesium, and nutrients that support heart health. But there's something most seniors are never warned about. Even the healthiest bread, when eaten in excess or without awareness, can become a hidden burden on your aging heart. This isn't about demonizing healthy food. It's about understanding the delicate balance your body requires after age 60. Because once we cross that line, everything changes. Digestion slows down, kidney function declines, and the heart becomes less forgiving. Suddenly, healthy choices, made in large quantities or at the wrong times, can become harmful, even dangerous. Take, for example, Ezekiel bread, a sprouted grain bread praised for its nutritional profile. It's packed with fiber, protein, and no added sugars. But one of my patients, Mr. Howard Reese, a 72-year-old retired pastor from Tennessee, learned the hard way that more doesn't always mean better. Howard was committed to turning his health around after a mild stroke. He eliminated white bread and began eating Ezekiel bread with every meal, sometimes 3 to 4 slices a day. He felt like he was finally doing the right thing, but within 2 months, Howard began experiencing bloating, fatigue, muscle cramps, and an irregular heartbeat. At first, he thought it was just part of getting older, but when his blood work came back, it showed elevated potassium levels and signs of early kidney stress. That's when we connected the dots. Whole grain and sprouted breads, while beneficial, are often high in potassium and phosphorus, which can build up in the bloodstream when the kidneys aren't functioning optimally, a common issue in older adults. On top of that, the high fiber load from eating multiple slices a day can irritate the gut, cause discomfort, and interfere with nutrient absorption. For someone taking medications like ACE inhibitors or potassium-sparing diuretics, such as lisinopril or spironolactone, the combination of excess potassium and reduced excretion can lead to hyperkalemia, a dangerous condition that affects heart rhythm and can result in sudden cardiac events. When I explained this to Howard, he was stunned. He said, "I was doing what every doctor says, more fiber, whole grains, no sugar. I didn't know I was overwhelming my body." We adjusted his intake, just 1 slice a day, paired with low potassium meals and increased hydration. Within 3 weeks, his symptoms improved and his labs stabilized, but the experience left him cautious and wiser. He told me, "I thought I was doing the right thing. I didn't know I was overwhelming my body."
So, what kind of bread should seniors eat to truly support their heart? After everything we've uncovered about white bread, processed grains, sodium traps,
chemical additives, and even the dangers of overdoing the good stuff, you're probably wondering, what can I eat, Doc? What kind of bread is actually safe for my heart now that I'm in my 60s, 70s, or beyond? It's a question I hear every week in my clinic. And the truth is, bread doesn't have to be the enemy. In fact, the right kind of bread, eaten in the right way, can actually be one of the most comforting and supportive foods for your aging heart. But the key lies in three things: ingredients, preparation, and portion. Here's the truth. Yes, you can eat bread after 60. Yes, it can be part of a heart-smart lifestyle, but it must be chosen and eaten with clarity, not convenience. Look for breads that are sprouted or stone-ground whole grain, free from added sugar and preservatives, low in sodium, under 140 milligrams per slice, high in fiber, at least 3 grams per slice, made with olive oil or no oil at all. And most importantly, don't eat bread alone. Combine it with foods that counterbalance its effects: fiber, healthy fats, potassium, and antioxidants. Bread isn't just food. It's a choice, a daily act of either support or sabotage.
So, as you stand in your kitchen tomorrow morning and reach for that loaf of bread, pause for just a moment. Ask yourself, not just what tastes good, but what feels good hours later. Ask not just what's easy, but what gives you the strength to show up for the people you love: your spouse, your grandchildren, your friends, and most importantly, yourself. Because food, at this stage of life, is more than just fuel. It's medicine, memory, and a daily decision that can either drain you or restore you. You've come this far. You've endured so much. Don't let bread or any food undo the strength you've earned. Your heart still has time, and so do you. Time to protect it, time to nourish it, and time to live the way you were always meant to live. Not just longer, but lighter, freer, and fully awake to the days you have left. Take that first step today, with respect for the life you still have and the body that still wants to carry you forward, one wise bite at a time. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe for more health tips tailored just for you. Have any questions or want to share your own story? Drop a comment below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.